So thinking in terms of mentorship, being a mentor, being a mentee, finding a mentor, becoming a mentor. There's a lot of different kind of pieces to the thought of mentorship and how one human helps another human. And so the first question is why? Why a mentor? I can say for myself, as a young man and even as a young adult, I found myself very easily um, independent, unnecessarily autonomous, independent, disconnected, thinking that if I didn't think that I knew it all or I knew it, best for myself, that I could discover it. And it was probably made more difficult to identify mentors, come to know mentors, have an older, wiser person help me out, um, because of, just lived experience, being a child in a single parent home without um, a strong masculine figure in the home for most of my life, and no consistent kind of modeling, right? So the mentor, the first question why becomes, well, because we need a model. If we don't have a model for what success or for what, some supposed transformative version of ourselves is or can be, then it helps to have somebody who's done that, who's been there, or who is, really close to getting to where you want to be, where I want to be. You might call this an avatar. It's the person sitting in the seat that you want to be sitting across from, having discourse and learning what they know. Why do we want to know that? Well, there's an old saying, if I only knew then what I knew now, if I only knew then what I know now, then X, Y, and Z. It's the hindsight is 2020 mantra. It's like looking backward on our lives and on past mistakes and opportunities missed. It's easy to say, dang, if I only knew X, then Y could have happened, So the answer, the solution becomes, well, I'm at a place now where I don't know what I know. I don't know what I don't know, though I have a sense of what I want to be, where I want to be, where I want to go. How do I do that? How do I not keep making the same error? This human error of, if I only knew then what I know now, regret, mentor. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. A stone in the pathway, a stone I can kind of step upon hypothetically in order to get across this patch of water or quicksand or fire. So we need those mentors, but it becomes a problem to know that, to know how to identify who is a good mentor, and then how to operate therein, how to get the most out of that relationship, so that the baton gets passed, so that we can take the baton into and across the finish line into the winner's circle. Not the winner's circle, but like with the fucking on the podium with the gold medal, whatever that symbolizes, whatever that signifies for us, whatever the goal is, whatever the objective is. There's somebody who's done it before us, and if we were able to connect with that person in an honest, natural, organic, and intentional way. So it's a balance between being honest and intentional and forthcoming about what it is you want from that mentor, potential mentor. They could say no. They could say, no, I don't want to be your mentor. I don't got time for that. So it should be organic. It should be somebody. This is the who. Who. It should be organic. Somebody whom we admire, whom we think, wow, I want to be where they are. For me, it was always like somebody writing and publishing something, a book. They're a writer, they're a poet, they're an academic, they're published. People care about their words. People care about what they're saying, their theory. They've done it. They've been where I haven't been yet. I've been there a bit now. I've crossed a little bit, but still trying to get this, this book published. There's people who have done it. So um, it's important that we're able to connect with them. Um, let me see. And really, for me, this it's all about my theory of, of public participation, the Picaro theory of public participation, also known as the Picaro CETOP, and it's got 7 different kind of components. The first one being top left inspiration, the top right searching, then becoming in the bottom right, and then restoration in the bottom left, up to the top transformational, down to the bottom transformational, up into the middle, which is pure freedom. And I wouldn't have, arrived at this conceptual framework, this theoretical position of, how humans, especially, unassimilable, typically non-white rascals that don't quite fit in with the status quo, how they might approach participating. How do you participate in organizations and society and different systems? And how do you get higher? How do you get to where you want to be? The reason I bring this up is because the mentors have helped me at every point along the way as I've learned how to navigate the systems, coming from being a former dropout, former, small-time criminal, and, somebody who was an outsider on the outsides of, status quo. And I still am, but I'm in a position now where I can righteously, act, accurately, challenge it rather than, speaking from my emotional self. And all of that, hard work, showing, having a decent attitude, working my ass off, following the lead, some people who know the way, and I've followed their way. And I've really, honestly, since I was a child, I was fascinated as a child with this concept of Renaissance, like this man who is not only a great athlete, but is also an artistic person and is a thoughtful, philosophical, seeker, and has, some type of civic responsibility. Kind of like a well-rounded, this is the classical, ancient liberal arts, going back to sacred geometry, what helped to, even craft the ancient pyramids, map the cosmos, all of that, the sacred, let's see if I can remember everything. Music, geometry, Hijo de la. There's the five classical liberal arts: cosmology or astronomy. Dang, they're living me. I feel like geometry and numbers, say numbers, music, cosmology, geometry. Anyway, those are the foundation, like being well-rounded is the point, I've been fortunate even though I was a small time that I was able to get a classical liberal arts education, which helped me to, craft, the Piccolo theory of public participation. It's been something I've been working on now for almost 20 years, and applying different public professional ways and using it in my curricular kind of design, helping young people learn difficult concepts, which is really essentially putting yourself in it. We want to find ourselves in the literature, in the work. We want to be able to be identified. We want future generations to feel represented. And so we look for it and we put ourselves there. Um, and so being a well-rounded person, every day and ever becoming, talk about becoming, like, yeah, I'm a human being, but I'm also becoming, like, I'm not done, right? Maybe like a blob on the floor, and the toddler and the adolescent and the young person, the adult, the old person falling to the floor and being a blob, dust to dust, right? The whole cycle of life requires us to know that we're not done, that there's more work to do. And as we near this kind of like death, how can we leave something behind for future generations who might face the same thing we had to face and overcome, and overcome them easier, can avoid them altogether, um, can feel represented, can feel like they're part of a tradition, they're part of a group of mass of knowledge, of seekers, of new innovation, um, pushing the boundaries of what, I call psychosemantic. It's not just me calling it that, but I use it specifically in this way, definitely. Meaning it's not just a mental game that we're playing or a cognitive, exercise, but our bodies are involved in it. So I'm playing on somatic, but I'm saying semantic, and that the lived experience, we actually make meaning through that experience. It's really just the Hegelian dialectic, nuanced a bit. So, why do we need mentors? Because we want to advance. It's the epigenetic, like, okay, if this nation on the left side who knows how to build fires, and there's a nation on the right side who doesn't. And each generation, each time there's new children, the nation on the left side passes that knowledge down, right? And so every generation knows how to build a fire, cook their food, keep warm, blah, blah, blah. The nation on the other side of the river doesn't know. And so each generation doesn't know, doesn't know, doesn't know. This is what happens to us now. We don't know what we don't know. Our parents don't know. We don't know what our children. What are we missing? And we can't provide it all, but what can we provide? How can we innovate on what we know, on what was taught to us, so that our children don't have to go through trials and struggles and waste? So the family on the right side of the river never learns. And one day, some joker from the left side comes over and says, "Hey, this is how you build a fire." And then each successive generation, has this knowledge, whereas their previous generations were stuck in what felt like, Stone Age. But now each successive generation has been wired up. They got the Wi-Fi. They know how to get online. They know how to do the whole thing. So we don't want to waste time as generations, like nations. How do we pass on the knowledge systematically, concisely, and holistically in a way that allows our children and other little rascals not to fall in the same pits that we fell in? So I just want to, share some of my personal mentors along the way. And these aren't all of them, but these are some of the most important ones. Why we don't want to waste time. We want to pass on. We want to move ahead, right? We want to innovate. It's the epigenetic piece. It's the personal fulfillment piece. Who, again, it should be organic, natural, somebody you admire, somebody who's like you, maybe in some ways. I've always liked people who are rebels. All of my favorite people have always been somewhat outsiders. They're just they might be able to fit in if they really wanted to, or if they really tried hard, they made some changes, but they don't give a damn. They do their thing. I like eccentric, eclectic, innovative, abstract, people who push the envelope in whatever it is they do. And I've been, privileged and, very fortunate to have, had real connections with many people just like that. And so it has to be organic, and they should see in you the intention that you have. And so it comes down to knowing that. So, I mean, it's a whole process, right? Like if we're going to be accepted into the group, or if people are going to take us on as a mentee, then there should be some evidence, or at least a process and a practice of us self-reflecting, reflexively looking into and behind ourselves and trying to, turn that silver into gold. It's an alchemical work. We're trying to refine and restore and renew. And that's the renewal, the rebirth, the renaissance. So coming full circle, they should feel that, see that, and be able to, help us in that. Um, and it's a beautiful thing. How to do it? Well, you got to talk. It should you got to likely you're doing the same work already. So I've been, the people that I've had, mentorship relationships with, we've already been in the same kind of sphere of work, whatever it is. Um, and so it should be something where you align. They're actually still in it in some way, and or they can help you get to where they are because they see where you're at. Um, so first for me, my main kind of mentor is my martial arts teacher, Ajahn. He's really like a father. He's a father to me. He's dead, rest in peace, Mike. But he's like a father. So and so I come from a lineage through him, and I was only able to be his student and his friend and his son and his mentee as such because I showed up, and I was humble enough, and I worked hard, and he, stayed with me, and was cornered all my fights, taught me how to, dismantle fools with my body, namely Muay Thai. I mean, he's a Muay Thai instructor, so using the science of the eight limbs. But he comes from a lineage, right? So we're not just out of nowhere. We're not just like fools making stuff up out in a empty lot somewhere. No, we come from a lineage. So being that I guess that's the real important piece of mentorship and being a mentee and a mentor. Then is that we become a part of a heritage, a lineage, an ethnicity, a culture. I mean, in a cultural way. Maybe not like genetic, tribal, but like we're part of a cultural kind of ethnic lineage that is beautiful, and it's great to be a part of. A tradition of genuine knowledge. So my teacher, Ajahn Mike Walrath, rest in peace, who is the founder of Bigfoot Gym in Eugene, Oregon, in which Bigfoot is doing great things now. Big up to Crew Harley and the team over there. Going to Thailand, doing big things. But we all came through. Ajahn Mike. He taught us what to do, and I trained with him for. I mean, I was his student up until he died. So, um, 13 years, but actively, about five. And, he cornered all my fights, amateur fights, about 9 fights total. But he was my guy, and he comes from a tree, a lineage. So he was taught by the guy up on the top left holding the weapons. That's Ajahn Budai Sawan from Thailand, who was, rest in peace to him, to Ajahn Budai Sawan, who's the Kribi Krabong weapons arts master teacher, who taught my teacher, who taught me how to fight with the swords and the staff. and how to supplement, really emphasize and accentuate my open hand Muay Thai skills, learning the long staff, learning the swords, and the technique and the footsteps is an ancient tradition, and I'm so proud to be a part of that through Mike, but also through the Muay Thai teachings through his teacher and my teacher, Ajahn Chai, Master Chai Sur Chai Sursit, Sir Chai Sursut, from Carson, California, well, from Thailand, but also Carson Harbor area, um, who came to, LA, Southern California in, I want to say, the late 60s, and, trained with, taught Danny Inosanto, Guru Danny, who is the student of Bruce Lee, who is the student of Ip Man. That's why I put them over there, because I'm part of that tradition too. Not that I've trained at the Jeet Kune Do, but I've trained with Ajahn Danny, who is a student of Bruce Lee, um, in Filipino arts, techniques, and in his teaching of Muay Thai, because he's a master teacher of Muay Thai, through my teacher Ajahn Chai, through my teacher Mike's teacher Ajahn Chai. So we're part of that family, and it's a proud lineage, So it's very empowering to maintain and sustain the code of ethics and honor, that comes down through those trees, if you will. Um, Academically, I are where, my the majority of my kind of trees, I would say. Well, I'd say martial arts, academics, and professional mentorship. But I wouldn't have even become an academic. I wouldn't even have become educated as such. I would have just still been really a laborer, a physical laborer of some capacity, probably. Who knows, um, as a dropout and a criminal and a convicted felon back in the days, it's like there weren't a lot of options other than, physical labor jobs. The best job I got was when, somebody gave me a chance at a real, artisan French bakery in Portland. And big up to Chris at Pearl Bakery downtown, where I learned it. That's a real skill, real trade. But it was difficult to get there, and I could have foreseen myself going to college or higher ed. Um, but it happened, and it happened because people helped me. It wasn't just something I was able to do on my own. I mean, I was on probation at the time, having to do all these classes, and, just got out of jail and on probation, and, transformative moments in time. And somebody said, "Hey, you should go to college." And she literally took me by the hand. She's not here because she's not a mentor, but like, she was somebody who helped me find my mentors, um, helped me fill out the FAFSA, fill out the college application, write my personal statement. Like, it takes that, if we are going to transform and transcend to the next level of whatever our pursuit is, um, we need that person who can stand in the gap and help us over the bridge. So big up to whatever her name was, Chaya. I think she changed, Chaya Kaya. Um, she she helped me get into University of Oregon, and the brother up here on the left, the Native American dancing from the Siletz tribe, Celilo Falls elder James Florendo, was the one who literally let me in the door, because had an interview with him. He we vibed, and um, and he mentored me and he helped me for many years, until I got enough credits under my belt, and I was doing well enough that I didn't necessarily need his, like, kind of hands-on uh, tutelage, if you will. But he's still a friend and a cherished mentor, because he opened the door. He essentially put his foot in the door and let me run through, and I ran through, and then the door shut. And it was a beautiful thing. But see, things, moments like that don't happen unless we put ourselves out there, unless oftentimes somebody kind of shows us how to get there. Where's the door? Oh, it's over there. Like, here, let me show you where this door is. Because it's an opportunity. And, the funny thing about the word opportunity is the main root in it is port, P-O-R-T, Opport, So the port is the door. An opportunity is where we're going to go through a door, cross a threshold, and that's why, just quickly going back to my framework, uh, the transcendental and the transformational includes this thought. Where do we find ourselves, you know, crossing thresholds, going through doors? Who are the people who open those doors? Why are we there? Institution? Can we stay there? What does that have to do with our reputation? So that's all fundamental to my theory. So quickly, just to kind of orient people, this image is essentially aligned, kind of like the human body. It's supposed to be that, the top portion, the upper portion, has to do with our higher self, and the lower portion has to do with our lower self. And to the right is kind of the external self, and to the left is the interior, the hidden kind of inside self. Um, in the middle, where is the kind of the G kind of principle, which is total freedom, pure freedom. There's two main concepts. There's the internal rug. It's a prayer rug. It's an intricately woven, ever strengthening, well crafted artisan rug, which symbolizes our our time and our wisdom in surviving the wilds of the day, and outsmarting the devil, by day, and all of the survival and pushes towards sovereignty help to uh, tighten and reinforce the structure of that artisan crafted rug. A rug has the vertical warp threads, the horizontal weft threads, and the warp and the weft pull on each other. Time, well crafted rug is just stronger and more comfortable. Um, and so that's kind of the solar place of us, that we have to bear witness to, or reckon with, when we talk about the G, the total freedom principle. The exterior self of us is represented by the three-legged stool with the loaf of bread, and that's the image on the right, which is essentially the picaro seat. Because the three-legged stool is a concept that is helps us to analyze and theorize about living under the empire. The three legs on the stool represent survival, uh, people, and integrity. And the thought is that our three-legged stools, as illegitimate, non-white bastards of the empire who are unable to assimilate to the status quo and into the empire family, the nation state family. Our stools are always in a perpetual wobble. They're always kind of teetering back and forth because we have to engage people and institutions, systems of society and politics. So that leg of the stool is when it goes straight down. It's always ever present in order for us to survive, right? Because we can't live in a sovereign way, independent of the nation state family empire. We're not free from it. We have to participate. That's what I mean. At this point, you either run, expatriate, or you fight, revolution. But so we participate therein. And the other two legs, which are survival and integrity, are always, in competition. But we can't maintain our full integrity because we have to survive. So we're always giving it a little and taking it a little. It keeps us in a perpetual wobble. Yeah, how we kind of conceptualize ourselves, our lived experience, and our place in society and politics. So that's what this conceptual framework, the Picaro seat, the Picaro theory of public participation, represents. And what you find the three-legged stool here in the middle, where the GC is, where the bread is, and the bread represents the inner, hidden bread, which is the soul in place, the crudely made, dainty fashion that is put up as being falls apart into a three-legged stool is, complemented or kind of contradicted by that intricately woven, artisan crafted prayer rug, which is symbolic of the soul on the inside. So I just want to orient people to that. Getting back to my mentors, so James Florindo from the Siletz tribe was the one who really, helped me get into the University of Oregon. And when I was there, I had three main mentors. One in particular, in the top right, that's Dr. Gail Unruh, and he was a great help to me in helping me to complete my thesis and complete my some other research as an undergrad, and helped me to connect with the man that's just below him, with the guy with the white dude with the glasses. That's Dr. Eric Pedersen, who's a kind of renowned linguist who helped me with my deal with some of my theoretical musings, specifically around metaphors and conceptual metaphors and really metaphoric hand gestures. So he helped me to complete my thesis, and Dr. Unruh above him was the one who really kind of pushed me to complete that and helped me to present it. National conference in Wisconsin, some other opportunities that were awesome, and really pushing me to think, to become a researcher, to become an academic, because I was crap, and I'm still crap, right? But it's like I was real shit back then, and they would push on my sentences, push on my questions, like what are you really trying to get at? But thankfully they saw potential in me, and they helped me get funding and helped me complete my projects. The dude right above me was my main man from University of Oregon, not doctor, he's not a doctor, but Garrett Hongo, who's a well-known poet, in fact Pulitzer Prize winning poet he's from Hawaii, but he was raised in Gardena. So he and I connected and clicked real quickly because, we're both from the harbor area. And and I took some courses with him, some poetry courses with him. And he's such a renowned guy that his courses are hard to get into. And but he liked me because I'm from Torrance, he's from Gardena. Um, and then we remained friends, and he ended up writing letters of rec from me and invited me over for dinner. And like he's the homie. Um, and he's the man. He's an amazingly creative and smart man, fierce, Hawaiian Hapa. He's Japanese Hawaiian. Raised in L.A. and he's a whole fool, but he's just beautifully smart. And he also does um, like fine art crafted stereo systems, like fools that are like audiophiles who like the cabinet systems with all the tubes and like all that stuff, really high end, like well crafted, you know LP record players, turntables, and all that stuff. He's into that, and so we click on music and blah blah blah. um I do want to read just quickly from Hongo, from his book, where he was the Pulitzer Prize finalist. It's a memoir of his from Hawaii. It's called Volcano. I'm just going to read a couple paragraphs from his chapter entitled Ghost. Ghost. I was frustrated. I'd been looking for my grandfather's ghost in everything, and that gave everything an undercurrent of dissatisfaction. I came up with almost no poetry daily. While the rain drizzled down through the sun showers and the fluffs of forest light outside, birds called ee ee and pip 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 well well, and I made no move to the picture windows to spot them bouncing through the upper limbs of the ohia. I stayed indoors and read blank verse, free verse, verse libre, variable feet, compassions by field, long lines, short lines, end stopped, and heavily enjambed lines. It made myself an expert on their nothingness. I yearned for another music. I spent a morning reading Witter Byner's translation of the Tang Dynasty anthology. It was called 300 Poems of the Tang Dynasty in my version. I'd gotten it in a Los Angeles Chinatown bookstore one December a few years before. It was a charming thing with a red and orange cover and black lettering across the little burst of color that looked like a sun or an unfolded oriental fan. There was Chinese on the left-hand page and English on the right. There were notes at the back, and the individual poet's name appeared at the foot of the page. When I read the works, I felt good. I'd read a poem, think on it, then read another, sort of like practicing a song. I'd let the thought and sentiment of it penetrate me like good weather, like a draught of liquor, even an ichor of spirit, as John Keats thought of them, the little romantic Buddha of the odes. So he's just an amazing writer, and I'm just very blessed and happy to call him a friend and a mentor. And in fact, he wrote a letter of recommendation to help me get into grad school, which carried some weight. So without that, who knows, maybe I'd still been um, in LA working at that fucking debt collectors motherfucking place in the valley. So, thank you, Hongo, and all my other mentors from U of O, especially James. Uh, in Texas, once I got to Texas, my main two mentors here were poets. In fact, because I was in the poetry program and at Texas State, and those are on the right, Cyrus Cassell's, Texas Poet Laureate, National Book Award winner. Probably will become the National Poet Laureate at some point. Homie from Cali, he's from California. He's from what do you call it, Lancaster, and he's a friend. In fact, he just released a couple new books and hooked me up with them a couple of weeks ago. And then the guy on the left was actually my thesis chair. That's Dr. Ogaga Ifuwodo from Ole, Nigeria. And I put him on, I mean, I put both of them on there because they were my mentors and helped me with how I even think about language, especially how I bring it to the page. Um, I remember specifically, in a meeting with Dr. Ifowodo, who he always had such like deep, profound, like little, mantras and lessons that he would just like drop on us. And I had a bad attitude one day for something, and I kind of like low key offended him or something, and he was like, "Words can be such unruly horses." I was like, "Hmm, words can be such unruly horses, for sure. Wow, what a beautiful way to put it, you know." And they can, they just get away from us. It's like you try to settle it and not let it run away, but that joker gets out and runs away, and it's life. Um, but again, he was my master's chair and helped me, just with small things really. Like I used to, just with like the articles, a or the, like he would be like the ocean, the kite. Why is it the kite? Why is it not a kite? And it's like, huh, why is it not a kite? And so little things like that, thinking about language. And he's a protege of internationally known, probably the most famous poet from Nigeria ever, Wole Soyinka. So the fact that he's a protege of Wole Soyinka, and I was a protege of his, not necessarily a protege, but a mentee at least, puts me in a lineage, at least in that right, and that I'm very proud of and very fortunate to be a part of. And Dr. Ifowodo and Cyrus, both obviously are, well, not obviously, but they are friends. um, let's see. So Dr. Ifowodo has won a lot of, many prizes. He's probably, apart from Wole Soyinka, he's probably the most renowned poet from Nigeria, at least the Delta region, and in the past 50 years, and also a well-known scholar on other things, political prisoner. I mean, he's bona fide. Um, this is his poem "Homeland" by Ogagi Ifowodo. Homeland. What are the things that grow here? Those that grow from stone, lacking life and root, flesh and water, things cut as caps for the baldness of stone. What are the things that flourish here? Those that rise from dust, without teeth for the nourishment of sand, things frail and fallen, that toss and fly with every wind. And what are the harvests here? Of corn crippled before teething, of tubers poorer than the planted head, of tomatoes rotted before ripening, of sand and gravel, burnt bush and ant hills. What are the dwelling places? Houses bitter like a weeping face, homes grievous like smoke pipes, walls held up by pillars of anguish, where lament makes bed and roof. And how do children grow here? Out of wombs whipped with want and desire, they burst forth to be tough like street leather, sweet and hardy like sugarcane, to learn love in safe time. Here, we will walk the street where laughter is hidden in deep places and stores cannot shut their doors, chock full with hearts that bleed from gathered wounds. And you will see nothing can grow here but agony. So Dr. Ifowodo is a whole fool. That's Homeland from his book Homeland, Another Homes. And he's just like, I love him. I mean, I've always been a whole sucker for somebody who's eloquent, verbose, and just intentional, and can just put words together in a way that it's just powerful, poetic, right, and prophetic. and he's one of those guys. Let's see. Cyrus just gave me this book a couple weeks ago. So this is one of his new pieces. I haven't even read it yet, but I thought this looks like it might be all right. It's called The Spirits of Slave Catchers Are Still Walking Among Us by Cyrus Cassels. Full frontal blast of the N-word, sullying the windshield of your family car, or sprayed on your innocuous chapel door. See, the spirits of slave catchers are still hectoring, ensnaring, unerring bloodhounds on the track, at the mall esplanade, in the glittering bean-shaped pool, at the mild as milk library story hour. Where is your pass? Brash, unfailing hunters, trailing your workaday step, tireless collaborators, quick to call Beckys and Karens, tattletale belles, all too avid to sip. From whites only fountains once more, restless enforcers insisting black bodies stay ghetto bound, earth bound, cradle still in velvet lined elm or alderwood coffins, sundown towns they're labeled, because, Lord, you can't be black after dark and expect to make it out alive. Say it with me, dull and cavalier as a Delta-bound train's Jim Crow curtain, the spirits of restless slave catchers are still roaming among us, hungering, unceasing. The spirits of slave catchers are still. So Cyrus is a whole other fool, and I'm just so privileged and proud to know both of them and to have studied under them and received their mentorship. Lastly, is a series of scholars and academics who helped me, make it through grad school and into, publication and finalizing, my concept, the Picaro theory of public participation, shaping it, getting it ready for publication, and helping me in so many other ways, being great friends. All of them are, like colleagues and at different times supervisors. So from the left, Dr. Melissa Martinez, who, was instrumental in helping me to plan for research and how to write academically and to get published, and just to work with her and, in an inspirational way, kind of like taking me to the next kind of phase of what's possible, because she's like a real go-getter. On the far right is Dr. Michelle Hamilton, who um, also pushed me to, not only write more, but to get out into the community and to implement some of the ideas that I've had. Specifically, I implemented a creative writing program at a local juvenile detention center just by cold calling them. I mean, I had the institutional kind of backing, which helps, but cold calling and then just going for it. And she had my back and helped to kind of, make it structural, at least in some ways. And she was a great friend and mentor for many years who really helped me to understand the institutional side of things. Like, what is it to live and work inside of a huge institution? And she also helped me to go after funding. How do you go after a nonprofit or foundation funding to fund your work? And in fact, I wrote my first grants, under her. So I'm so thankful for that support and tutelage. So these people are more kind of professional, maybe less. Um, well, I wouldn't say less creative, no, but definitely more professional. Next to her is Dr. Gloria Martinez, um, who helped to get me a job and has encouraged me to to publish more so and helps me think through different um, pieces of work I'm working on. And, uh, and it's just great to have institutional support when you have an idea, and you want to go for it. You got to go for it. And I always tell my students, and I tell other people, like, it's not what you can do for the institution; it's what the institution can do for you. I mean, it's like it's contrary to what JFK said, but if you're low income, first generation, no, and you're broke, but you got a lot of great ideas, and you're willing to work hard, and you show up every day. Look inside the institution for funding, for resources. Use their stuff, use their cameras, use their technology, use whatever it is you need, microphones, laptops, like, use it to your advantage. And Gloria Martinez has been, she's a Chicana from the West Coast, from Califas también. Entonces she like gets it. She's like, yeah, go use it, do the thing. And then the dude in the middle is Dr. Miguel Guajardo. He's actually from the Valley of Texas, Rio Grande Valley, and he was my dissertation chair and a mentor and a friend, and still a friend and a mentor, and just a wise man and somebody who has been instrumental um, in writing and theorizing about what it is to engage communities, specifically here in Texas, specifically in the Valley of Texas. But how do you engage, um, outside of the institution? How do you take the theories and the knowledge and the degrees and the resources, sure, and all this stuff? How do you take that to the people, convene them, and get them to think about it, help them, have them help create the work, the research, have them help, analyze the data, collect the data, analyze the data, discover the finding. It's a beautiful thing when we can take, we call it community, asset mapping, resource mapping. We go to the people. That's at least the methodologies that I've used when I do, outreach. Is like, you get a group of people outside, who are just people, right? Citizens, communities, whatever. And you help them identify their assets, their resources, so that they're thinking more of an asset framed kind of approach to life, and instead of a deficit. Because for so often, for so long, our communities, who are, marginalized, left out, kept out, we operate in a deficit mindset. We think that the glass is half empty and that we're always behind, behind, behind. And it's not that that's not true, but there's ways to think differently about the community, specifically organizations, communities, and look at the resources there from an asset kind of based mindset, and collective kind of consciousness, if you will, where we all have something to add, and there's a way to reinforce, systems within a community. Um, Based on those assets, based on those resources that are right there inside of it, versus feeling totally marginalized, individualized, and that anything good or, asset or resource base is outside of the community. No, let's look at the community and build it up from the inside. So Dr. Wahardo has been my main influence as far as thinking that way, and, has been a great friend and mentor. Um, let's see. So, the point is of this is that we don't know what we don't know, and um, and it's, instead of looking at life with regret and saying, "Dang, what if I only knew then what I know now, I could have X, Y, and Z." Well, too late. Here I am today. So I'm looking at today from the future, my future self. I'm looking back at myself right now from the future, saying, "Fool, if you know what I know up here in the future, right where you're at right now, your whole thing can be, totally transformed." But because I don't know what that is, maybe I have a sense, a semblance, a seed, a little piece of like what I think I want or what I think I need. I know I need. And I know somebody who's got that. Like they're at exactly where I need to be, where I want to be, what I want, whatever that thing is. How can I connect with somebody in a way? It has to be organic, right? Like it's, again, it has to be systematized in a way where you're in a kind of common space, and organic, I mean, it's hard to inorganically and kind of like removed, like in a decentralized way, find a mentor, you know. Um, Hopefully, you already know somebody in that place, in that space, in some systematized way where it's easy and logical and makes sense for you and them to connect so they can expedite your process so that your future self is not regretting, but is, enjoying the fruits of all of that. So it's a process and it's a beautiful thing. And I guess the last thing to say about, mentorship and finding a mentor and agreeing to a mentorship kind of capacity relationship is relationships are limited. They're not supposed to just go on perpetually. So it should be stated, like say it, find the person and say, like, this is where I'm trying to get. And I think that you know what I need to know, and I don't know it. And I'd love for you to help me, you know, over the next 9 months, over the next 18 months, so I can get there. And maybe you don't have to be so clear and kind of black and white, but maybe you do, because the truth is that the mentor mentee relationship is limited. It will end. Will you get out of it what you need? We're not just making friends. It's not just about like making friends with people and like, your friend, sure, but that should be organic too. But like, if it's really a mentorship kind of like thought and intention, then it's going to end, and it's probably even more beneficial. They'll probably respect you better if you just kind of put that out there and just put the limits on it organically or immediately.